It's Mike Brennan. We're back again with another segment of MITech TV with my good friend Matt Roush, who now is retired, but hey, still working with me. We're gonna got to keep money flowing in, right, Matt?
Hopefully, that's the that's the idea.
Yeah, money's a fine thing. So anyway, we have with us again Gary Erickson, who's the managing partner of Executive Search Partners. Uh, and they primarily focus on chief information officer recruiting and chief information security officer recruiting. But I think you also do, just as a backgrounder, I think you guys also recruit other folks and CIOs and CISOs, right, Gary?
Yeah, we'll do technology positions down to manager, and occasionally we've even done individual contributors from companies we've had a good long term relationship with. They can't find somebody to say, "Hey, can you try this?" And we do, and we find somebody. We also work on accounting and finance positions. We're pretty good at that, but we're real experts in the IT field.
Yeah, I think most of you and your partners come out of that field, don't you?
Yeah, we're all former CIOs, some fairly substantial GMAC insurance, Beaumont Hospitals, Johnson Controls, Champion Homes, Vickers. Anyway, just reeling those
But
off
no
the
big
tongue.
companies or anything like that, right?
No. So we know what we're talking about. We know what CIOs need to do, but it keeps evolving. So I'm glad to hear somebody like your previous guest, Tom Kelly. He's really on top of the. I enjoyed that interview with him. I think next time he comes on, I'll start at the beginning.
Yeah, he's come a long ways, and so has Automation Alley. From when the started out with Brooks Patterson, just wanting to be able to recruit people, IT people, to Michigan, and look how Automation Alley has evolved. So, speaking of evolving, you one of your notes here is that you've just launched the Executive Search Partner newsletter on LinkedIn. So, talk about that.
Well, we'd like to generate more visibility, like anybody that wants to do on social media. And I've got like 10,000 followers. One of my partners has 20,000 followers. And, if you don't keep posting stuff out there, they may think you've disappeared as a company. So we've decided to start producing a weekly newsletter. And if you go to my LinkedIn profile, or you go to Executive Search Partners in LinkedIn, you can subscribe to our newsletter. And the newsletter is curated for senior level IT people. Every week, there's a whole series of new popular articles for people to look at and read. You can select the ones you want. I guarantee you will find two or three that you think are very interesting and useful for your current job.
Interesting. Well, how would you describe the state of the market for IT jobs right now?
Well, I think it's the same way it's been for the last 2 years. Unfortunately, it's been very slow.
Hmm.
I've been in talking. In fact, I had a conversation with a couple of people this morning about the same subject. What's the market like? Why is it sort of slow, even though the economy looks pretty good, even though inflation has come down? Prices are still high, but inflation has come down. And we just think people, the CFOs specifically, now we're not experts, we're just speculating, but we think it's probably the CFOs have been holding back on, really investing and spending new money. And with the new administration, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but maybe there'll be some change in attitude. I'm not sure why, because all the economic numbers are pretty good. I would have thought we had seen this about a year ago.
Yeah, I think that's been part of it. I think a lot of people were sitting on their money because they weren't sure which way the election was going to go. And now that we do know which way the election is going, we don't know exactly what they're going to do because they've essentially thrown everything out and we're starting from scratch. So what does that mean? I don't know. But certainly it'll be an interesting 4 years. I think we can safely say that.
My
Uh,
wife asked me that. And she said, "What do you think of the new administration?" I think it's going to be an interesting 4 years.
Safely saying that, yes,
Yeah.
no doubt there.
Interesting in the Chinese curse sense of the word, perhaps.
Yes, may
But
you live in
Well,
interesting times. Yes, that's
yeah,
us.
that's a very good comment. As an observation, we've been through this before. new administration coming in. Trying to remember the name of the guy that had his 100-day plan. Right, we were
They
going
all have
to
a
completely,
100-day plan. Yeah.
but we were going to redo everything, throw everything out, start all over again, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Well, the federal government, the old cliche about the turning the, 2,000-foot oil tanker, it turns slowly. So we'll just see what can happen here. It'll be interesting. So what do you think? What do you think people should be doing now if the market indeed does open up in the next few months?
Yeah. Excuse my coffee. So I've given this advice before, but if you're really interested in looking around for a new job, the first thing you should be doing is getting your marketing material prepared. And what I mean by that is your resume, your how you're going to answer your interview questions. And if you go to our website, execsearchpartners.com, there's a really good article on 12 steps for a highly successful job search, and it tells you exactly how you should get prepared for this. So what we're suggesting is go over the last 10 years of your career and write down a number of significant accomplishments in a very simple format, which is what problem were you trying to solve, what actions did you take, and what results did you achieve. And then use that to populate your resume with a few of those. Look online for jobs, connect with your friends and people you get referred to for networking purposes. If you see a job that you're interested in, when you apply for it, make sure that the resume that you use is a good fit for the position. If you're not a good fit for the position, don't apply. Now, a lot of people, and I've said this before, a lot of people will say, I could do that job. Okay, well, turn around and put yourself in the shoes of the hiring manager, and he's got in front of himself 50 resumes. And of those 50 resumes, 45 of them are people who say they could do the job but don't have the background for it.
But have never done anything like it. Yeah, they've never done anything like it before. Right.
Or even if they've done something they think is closed, because one of the fallacies in the IT world has been, my IT applies across the board to every industry. Well, if you're a technologist and you're trying to move something to the cloud, if you're trying to do security, all right, those kind of things work. But take any other process and systems, there is specific knowledge that you need to have. How do we market? How do we sell? How do we produce? How do we account? All right. How do we engineer whatever we're doing? And what are the things that IT can do to enhance each of those things? If I'm the president of the company, I'm not going to hire a CIO that doesn't know my business, because his advice is going to be more generic than specific, and he does not have a track record in providing any company related to my company with improvements using IT. It sounds like I'm on a bandwagon, but we get so many people calling us and saying, I can do that job, and I have to give them the same speech. So you can tell I've done it before.
Something tells me you've given that speech more than a few times, right?
Yeah.
So typically in a month, how many resumes do you get?
Oh, geez. If we don't have a search underway where we advertise it, we probably get between all of the partners maybe 100 unsolicited, maybe more. I get a bunch of real estate resumes every single day. I must be on some website somewhere that says, "Hey, here's a good real estate recruiter." But we get LinkedIn in-mails, we get direct emails that basically say, "Hey, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me?" And we look at all of them. If they're related, we'll contact them and give them some thoughts on what they're doing, which is a fair amount of work, and most recruiting companies don't do it, but it's just part of how we generate business as a company, and how we generate a good reputation. We like giving back to people. We like adding good people to our network. New guy that just moved here from Australia has now got his green card citizen. He's got a great banking background, and I'm going to help him network with some of the Michigan banking executives that I know. I'm happy to do that with people.
And then getting back to your 12 steps, not to be confused with another organization with 12 steps, do people actually look at that and tailor their resumes to meet those 12 points?
to be, I'd like to say, yes, absolutely. Everybody loves what we put out there. It's a mixed bag. I think people fall in love with their own resume. They think it's great. And they don't understand how it's being received by the other side. And I will talk to somebody and say, all right, tell me the things that you've done that relate to this particular position. And very specifically, give me 5 reasons. If you were to meet the president of the company, why he or she should hire you. And then if they tell me that, we'll go through that and make it more articulate most of the time. Okay, great. Where is that on your resume? Right? Well, tell me how somebody reading your resume is actually going to understand that you have that particular background that they're looking for. And then we get into how to modify the resume, which then goes back to how come you didn't read our 12-step document in the resume format we suggested.
That's it. You should have started at the beginning. You're wasting your time, right? So.
Yep.
Okay, so in terms of IT, what kind of skills do you think will be most in demand? What kind of IT skills will be the hottest going forward?
Well, at the senior level, the ones that are the hottest are people who understand this specific business and have a track record in that area and a business track record. That if you're a top IT person and you can't speak the business that you're working for, you're not going to get hired. Now, as you go further down the ranks, you need to have less. You still need to understand the business because what you're doing is focused on helping the business. But if you're a head of development, you really know what the latest and greatest trends are in development, like low code. How does that affect how we do things? How does AI affect coding, for example? If you're in finance and accounting, and you're lower down the line, what are some of the latest finance and accounting software tools that I can use for doing whatever I'm doing? They're just specific examples.
Okay. And so, do you have anything without, it's up to you if you want to name it. Do you have any jobs available in Michigan that you're, looking to fill? Or?
No, we have absolutely no jobs. We had a surprisingly decent year last year where we filled most of the jobs and filled them before the end of the year. It's funny how usually jobs will run over into the new year. So I could talk about some, but no, we filled our last job in mid-December. And because normally we don't get new searches until mid-February, new searches start ending around the middle of Thanksgiving, and they don't pick up until the middle of February. So we're not expecting much for another few days.
Huh.
But we do post all of our jobs on LinkedIn. So if anybody's following us, they could do that, and it'll pop up on their feed.